say, okay, well, why would it just God, God who's so good and he's so, you say he's so loving, why would he want to send me into a pit of fire for for all eternity?
I don't
that
sound
never,
like that. It's like,
yeah,
that is me.
like
son of a bitch.
But then,
I know.
We've
That's
covered
the
that too.
hardest
It's
thing
like
for me to
I
defend,
get it,
yeah.
but then again, is he really sending you there if he's already told you how to avoid it?
In the middle of the chaos.
In the middle of the chaos. Here we are, just for you guys.
Mm-hmm.
As always, I'm Julian.
Ty. It sounds so weird, like how I say Ty. I feel like cutting that out every fucking time, but whatever. That's just gonna be my thing. So I just.
But
yeah,
crazy. I mean, it's Julian and it's Ty, and
yeah.
As you guys know, the channel is Broken Filter of Thoughts.
Yep.
So I just want to put this out there. We're not trying to be. What's the word I'm trying? We're not trying to be anti whatever they're doing. We're still. I know we're supposed to be practicing social distancing. That's that's the new thing right now, I guess. But it's not that the state we live in. We're still able to move around. We're still able to do things.
I think we only have like 49 cases here so far.
Correct.
At least for right now.
So,
as long as people act right.
We're taking the necessary precautions. We're doing this until we're told to either shelter in place or anything else. But right now we don't have that, so we're not just being blatantly ignorant. And we're not one of those people. If you guys think we are, we're not. We're being very safe. We're being very protective. My wife works in the healthcare field. So does his girlfriend. So yes, we're taking every precaution they have been asked to take and they ask us to take. So, but again, we're just doing this because we don't know when we're going to be able to do the next one. So
yep, gotta stay consistent.
Yep. So now that we got that out of the way,
thank you for being professional. See, I was just gonna go into the conversation. But
so that's the disclaimer, and we're not promoting people to just go out there and do stuff. Obviously, if you're a YouTuber or you're a creator of some kind and you can do it from the comfort of your home, it's fine, it's great. Keep talking to the people. If you have to travel and collab with other people and you're not allowed to do that, we don't support that. If you have to stay in place, shelter in place, do not go against the government or your local authorities or anything like that. We don't support that. We haven't been asked to do that yet in our state, so that's why we're able to do this right now. So
So again, basically wrapping it up, don't be stupid.
Exactly, don't be stupid. Protect yourself, protect others.
That's the long form way of saying it.
Exactly. So but we got it out the way. So but anyway, yeah, the world is in panic right now, man. It's like panic mode, pandemonium, pandemic, whatever or panic, or make them panic, as I like to say.
Because, is that he's stringing it in?
Yeah, because if you write out pandemic and you take out the DEM,
make them,
it's panic, and then you put the DEM, it's panic them.
Panic them.
And then make them panic.
I can see that definitely being like
that's a play on words. You know what I mean? Exactly.
Like, all right.
It's a play on words.
Teaching
like
a
just
5-year-old kid.
let's jumble it together, and they wouldn't really get it,
right.
but we get it. It's like
it's still interesting though.
It really is. I showed somebody, they were like, yeah, you might be onto something there, man. I'm like, really?
What do they call that again? Like I forget. Like when they do the mixing the letters up.
There's a word for it, but I can't remember off the top of my head. But there is a word for it.
Right.
And again, it's a lot of things. Like when people say, "Oh, well, it's going on in history." Like, do you know what history really is? If you break down the words apart, it's his story.
Yeah, and this is granted. This is someone's story.
It's somebody, exactly.
Yeah, so
his story may not be your story, may not be her story, and may not be their story.
Right.
So why do we go by his story all the time?
Right, because we got to go by somebody's story.
Do we?
Because if you are that guy, and then he would be like, "How come we can't go by my story?"
Exactly.
Again, say like,
but why do I want to go by your story? Maybe I just want to make my own story.
Right. But we all can't do that. history class would be like insane if we had like every individual's like history within that class. That's why we got biographies.
But then again, that's why there's so much. That's why there's so much conflicting stories about his story.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? Because, I mean, yes, even including up to it and including the Bible itself, that is the book that you all know that I reference. A lot of people said, well, the Bible is very contradicting. One place it said this, one version said that, and I get it. I like to read the New King James Version because the King James Version, I believe, is the original version, but I don't like that saith, they, thee, thou.
Oh, all the
shout.
Old English.
Yes, Old English, correct. It gets a little, you get lost in the tumbleweeds of trying to sort out what means. So I just use the New King James Version, which basically still keeps the original of what the verse or the book or whatever it's talking about, but changes all the Old English into modern day English.
See, that's why it's interesting for me. Like, for me, I don't go by the Bible or so, but I still look at it as being a very interesting thing to look at for like moral guidance or stories or so.
Yeah.
Like, again, I personally don't take everything in there as being like accurate or true, but again, that's merely my perception of it. But I do know that there's a lot of good that you can get out of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You, again, pretty much read it the correct way.
Correct.
Analyze it correctly.
Correct. Now, I've always said you can read the Bible in a couple of different ways. You can read it just as a book, and you still get a good deal out of it if you just read it as a book. Now, if you read it as a book and keep an open mind,
right?
You know what I mean? You still get some stuff out of it, like some really good stuff, like, oh, okay, well, you know what? I can relate to that. I can relate to this one. I can relate to that one as a human being. Now, then you could read it a little deeper as someone who's looking for revelation and the mysteries about, okay, I understand this, but let's go deeper under the surface of what this is saying and what else do I get out of this besides just this thing that it's telling me. And that's what the Bible is. That even I share with people that every time I read, even verses I've read before, books I've read before in the Bible, it's like every time I get a different revelation from it. You know what I mean? It's that kind of book. But you have to be in a certain mental form and spiritual, way to be able to get that out of it. Otherwise, you're just going to keep getting the same thing if you just read it as a book that you just want to read to pass time, right, which you can do also. You know what I mean? And again, like, I'm not one of those people that had to beat you over the head with the Bible and say, oh yeah, the Bible's the end all be all, everything else, should be down. Like, no.
Yeah, that's a little extreme.
Exactly. Okay. Exactly. Like, right. I mean, look.
But there are a lot of people that do that, which is what turns people away from it in the first place.
And that's not the way it should be done. Simply put, like, I'm going to be, straight up, simply put, the Bible is just a guideline to help the people who believe in God, in Jesus Christ, to follow the way of life that he came to show us how to live. And your Bible is your playbook whenever you're like, okay, I don't know what to do about this particular situation. Like, what does it say I'm supposed to do? Okay, that's what I'm supposed to do instead of what I want to do. Like, I would handle it this way, but how am I supposed to handle it? It's almost like a playbook. Like, okay, you don't really know the game. Here's the playbook.
Right.
You read it, you go, got it, now I understand. Okay, instead of trying to do that, play that we were going to do, we're going to scrap that, we're going to do it this way instead. Mm-hmm. And that's really what the Bible is. It's like a GPS, really, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. For those, again, who believe in God, who believe in the words that are written in the Bible. That's really all it is. It's a like right now, I was telling people, I posted something on my other thing, Julian's Thoughts, my Facebook. Because a lot of people are afraid, and I'm like, listen, even if you read the Bible, which I have read a few times from Genesis to Revelation, in the Bible there's over 365 different forms of fear not, do not fear, and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. I won't say all that kind of stuff, but that phrase in particular in different forms, there's over 365 variances of it. That's one for each day, the way. Now, I'm not saying that that's how it's supposed to be, but that's just the way I look at it. I'm like, wow, that's one for each day. So that one for each day is covered. So every day, it's almost like God is telling you every day, don't be afraid. Do not fear. Don't be afraid. Do not fear. And that's not it's not a bad advice to give someone.
Right,
especially around this time when everybody really is afraid. Yeah. Because, everybody's so afraid. Some people, already self-quarantine themselves. Some people already shut themselves down. You know what I mean? Even before the state or local government asks them to. But again, fear. You cannot live in fear because God doesn't want us to live in fear because it's not the way He meant for things to be for us.
Right. So that's a question real quick too. Like, since we can definitely look at the Bible as being a guideline of basically a way how you can live your life in order to not be afraid or not be confused and pretty much live your life in an upstanding kind of way.
Yeah.
For you, somebody who definitely takes the Bible a lot more serious than a lot of other people, what would you say to other people who have their own way of guidelines of like, the Bible would be your book of guidelines of, all right, this is how you can get through life without being an asshole, basically. But other people that have their own ways, again, basically like other religions. So other, not saying that you do follow religion, but you know what I'm talking about. Like,
I understand what you're talking about. Like other people who believe in
other
like
things.
Other things,
as long as it guides them to live in a noble life as well.
Like this is what I say. Okay, the thing with the Bible with me, that's my belief,
right?
And I believe it strongly. Now, do I beat you over the head with it? No. I always like to have a conversation with other people, see where their minds and what they believe in. Now, if you say you believe in something else, like, because some people say, well, even though, they use religion, but even though religion you're not supposed to, but they believe in something else, and they say, well, it's still God, but it's not God the way you present God to me. Mm-hmm. But if it's still keeping you in that line, and it's it's similar. Some people say, "Oh well, it's the same thing." Could be, maybe not. I can't
From
say
a
for
different
sure.
Perspective.
Correct, because I don't practice that,
right.
So I can't fully speak for them. But if it's getting you in that line, then what I usually say is, well, you know what? Let's compare apples to oranges and see if maybe your orange really is an apple. And you just think it's an orange.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Or maybe your apple is actually orange.
Or
you never know. Because they could be thinking the same exact thing about others.
And that's why you have to have a conversation and not a debate. You know what I mean? That's why there has to be a conversation because, some Muslims say we have some of the same similarities with with the Bible, that this and that, only that in their version the Quran is what they call the Bible. In their version, that Jesus is Muhammad, and Muhammad never said he was the son of God. Muhammad was a prophet. But for other people who have read both versions, which I've never really read the Quran, but they say, well, no, it's different because Muhammad was telling people to do certain things that Jesus never told people to do. Actually, they say it's like opposites night and day. Muhammad was saying this, and Jesus was saying that. Now, again, I've never read the Quran. I don't know how true that is. Right. But I know that the Muslims look at Muhammad as a prophet of God, whereas we look at Jesus as the son of God, not a prophet, but sent by God, who is God himself. So they don't see that part. They're like, no, Jesus was a prophet. He wasn't the son of God. But that's the same thing the Pharisees, when Jesus came, that's the same thing they were saying to Jesus. They were like, how dare you, call yourself the son of God? But back in those days, also, if you look at it, some of the Pharisees in those areas where Jesus was, there were Muslims. Some Jews are Muslims, and they believe strongly, that no, Jesus was never a son of God. He was just some prophet who claimed to be the son of God. Right. So that's where all that mix-up could have come from when it comes to that.
So curious part two is that, for me, I definitely see myself possibly. Well, when I look back at the previous videos or so, I can see myself getting not too defensive or so, but too caught up in the weeds of whether something was true or false, or how something actually went down or how it didn't go down. For me, at least from my perspective, it seems like all the smaller details or so, all it does is more so genuine, like you were saying before, again, the us versus them mentality. All it does is like create more of a divide about how the two things are different versus how they're actually similar. How they, like if, say this guy right here is the one who preached, okay, you should do things this way or so, but this guy is saying, yeah, he did say that, but he wasn't the son, he was actually him himself. That small detail doesn't really matter in my book, because the message overall is this guy said to not be an asshole.
Correct.
So from the perspective, from me, I'm definitely trying more so to not get caught in the semantics of it, even though it's good to know the details of like how a story went down, but to see the true purpose of what a story was trying to convey, and if that story is pertinent to making our lives better in this day and age. Because some stories are probably a little bit too old to actually be able to be adapted like in a one-to-one scenario. So some stories may not. I'm not sure. I haven't read the entire Bible, but yeah, some stories, again, from anything. You could even look at like folklore or Red Riding Hood. You can still get like a great moral lesson out of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
In this day and age. So,
absolutely.
I don't know. Just people get caught in the weeds a little too much. That's what I'm trying not to do. So I'm trying not to pretty much challenge too many of the things that you say.
And, well, I mean, and it's good that you actually brought that up, because that's why I said, let's have a conversation about it.
Yeah.
Let's clear some things up. I have read the Bible. I study the Bible daily. You know what I mean? I've read it as a book just to read, but now I'm past that. I'm studying it now to get more revelation out of it. You know, like even some people who preach from the Bible, some things they preach, and I'm like, okay, you got that from the Bible. You're preaching that from the Bible, but you're sending the wrong message, because that's really not what that message means. Like, you taking a verse and then you preach something, and I'm like, no, you're twisting that. You're putting your own spin to it. That's not really what that says.
That's why a lot of these things could be a reflection of like who the person is individually. So it's them pretty much rationalizing their action based on something else. Kind of like the people who perform like the Crusades or so. God wasn't saying, oh, these people aren't deemed worthy of living or so. Or, oh, I hate these types of people or so. No, that's people pretty much projecting their own biases on different things and justifying it with whatever's written down. It can happen. It happens for the Bible, but it can happen for like a ton of other things as well.
Exactly. Absolutely. And that's why I always tell people, you know, even if you fellowship wherever you fellowship and you have a leader who, you know, preaches from the Bible, don't just accept what they say to you. Go back, read it, understand it, ask God for it. Because even in the Bible, one of the books in the Bible in the New Testament, James, who was, he's the brother of Jesus Christ, and he was also a disciple. He says basically, like, he puts it like this: if any man lacks wisdom, let him ask God, who gives to all liberally without reproach. But now, see, here's all the good thing about the Bible that I like about the Bible. See, people try to make the Bible be like we said earlier, like a us versus them. But nowhere will you read the Bible that it will say, it only says these people, those people. Right. Like, for example, the Bible says, whosoever calls on the name of the Lord shall be saved. It doesn't say, if Christians call on the name of the Lord, they shall be saved. It doesn't say if only believers in God. It says whosoever. Everybody's included in that.
Okay.
That's a really very generic. It's not specific. It's so generic that you can put your name in there. You can put whatever you want. Like, you can put a Muslim in there. Like, you can put an atheist in there. It doesn't. Whosoever shall call on the name of the Lord shall be saved.
I would say it doesn't directly say it, but indirectly it insinuates whoever calls upon it shall be saved.
Correct.
But the unspoken thing would be, then one should call on them to be saved, correct? Or if you do call, you'll be saved, but the unspoken side is also that if you don't call, then you won't be saved.
Well, no, the unspoken side is not that you won't be... Well, the unspoken side is not that you won't be saved. The unspoken side really is the first, like you said, you know, anyone who comes to God must first believe that God is. But the unspoken side to it would be, you know, if you don't call, then you're just out there on your own. Like, you may not make it.
May not make it in the way that those that believe in God make it.
Correct.
Okay. Because but they could have their own goal post, their own goal line in a different place they're trying to get
you
to.
May not make it, but whosoever calls, you know, I'll save you. I don't care who you are. If you are in a situation where you feel like you've done everything you can, and you still feel like, okay, you need that help, you don't know where it's coming from, if you call on me, I'll save you. That's just what it's saying. That you don't have to be.
I got you.
You know what I mean? You don't have to be labeled as a Christian. You don't have to be labeled as whatever. If you call on me, and typically, if you're at that point where you're calling on him, then whether you say you believe or not, if you are calling on him, there's a part of you that believes that, okay, let me try it out and see if he'll help me. because I heard him say that. So there might be maybe just an ounce that kind of sort of is neutral and can be swayed if needed to believe just for a single moment.
Right.
And then it happens. That's really what that is, I've had people who have told me that, they're of a different belief or faith, and they've said, listen, look, one time I was in a bind. Yes, I did. I called on the name of God, Jesus, and, it was like, this thing happened and that thing happened. And some people have converted to faith, and some people are still have that faith that they had, but now they just know that, okay, you know what? Now they're doing the thing where, okay, you know what? Maybe I need to look at this a little bit more as well. Because if you believe in something and in your most dire time of need, if that faith cannot save you or give you a way out, is it really worth it?
See, that's a question.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It does. If it doesn't, like, if you're in a unconsolable mode, and say for me, for example, excuse me. I say something happens, and you're like, oh man, I don't even know what to say to Julian. Like, I don't want to even imagine what he's going through.
Right.
Like, because there are times when things happen to people, and you were like that. We're like, man. And then, but when you actually get to me, you're like, oh, man, when they say, well, how's Julian? You're like, well, surprisingly, he's actually taking it better than I thought. Like, his faith, the things he said to me, like, he's doing good. Like, I don't know how, but he's okay. You know what I mean?
Right.
But if it's not, if whatever you believe in or whoever you believe in is not doing that for you, then is it really worth it to believe in that? Because the way I believe in God, like, you know my story with your sister. Some of the things we've been through, and you still see us standing.
Right.
And it's not because by ourselves. We don't believe it's by ourselves because we asked for that help. We called on that name, as it said, and even though it may seem like okay, well, to me, if you call, I don't know what he did, but I knew that you guys came through it and you're okay.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
All right,
like
I got
you know what I mean? Like, we're living proof that you can say, I was there, and I don't know how they made it through, but they made it through. Right. And then I say, listen, it wasn't me, it was divine help that I asked for because I didn't know how to make it through either.
Yeah, but I would say that definitely yeah, that definitely shows the power of it shows the power of having faith or belief in whatever it is that a person pledges their higher power to or so. Because definitely when it comes to God, there's a lot of people that pray to God and hope for a miracle, and he actually does give them a miracle. So, but I can definitely say the same thing for other religions as well, that they may pray to whatever their higher power may be and get a blessing here or there, or pray for luck for like the new year that's coming up, and maybe they're blessed with something, or maybe it gets taken away or so. So it doesn't necessarily have to mean that because cases work for God, they don't work for others. That's me just again posting the argument for the others out there.
I understand, and it works for. And I totally understand, and like I said, I don't bash anybody's belief or faith.
Exactly, because like you said, if your belief doesn't work for you, then you might want to look for something else.
Correct.
So that's saying that the belief does work for other people, like whatever their other system is. Yeah. So for those that is working, keep doing it. Keep going for it, because it's working out for you. But if not, then you can look elsewhere for knowledge.
Because like I don't bash anybody's faith. But like I said, I believe what I believe, and I believe it strongly. Some people are like, so if I don't believe in God and Jesus, I'm going to hell. Well, according to the Bible, that's what it says. It's not me. These are not my words. You know
according to the Bible.
According to the Bible, these are not it's not Julian saying, oh, you're going to go to hell, because I didn't say that. This is what the Bible says. Now, I can only tell you what I'm reading and explain it to you. And I mean, if it says, well, why am I going to go to hell? I can tell you the reasons why. It says that you're going to go to hell. Now, that's the hard part for people to believe, because they say, okay, well, why would it just God, God who's so good and, he's so loving, why would he want to send me into a pit of fire for the for all eternity.
I don't sound like that. It's like,
you know,
no.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, that is me.
you
You son of a bitch.
But then,
I know.
We've
That's
covered
the
that too.
hardest
It's
thing
like,
for me to
I
defend,
get it.
yeah.
But then again, is he really sending you there if he's already told you how to avoid it? Like, again, but one thing he wouldn't take from you is your free will. So you do have free will to, stay the course, or you have free will to deviate from the course. But you know the consequences. It's like, it's almost like saying, if I tell you, oh, okay, the stock that you're trying to buy, don't buy the stock because it's going to plummet. Like, if you invest all your money in it, you're going to lose money. You know what I mean? Don't buy the stock. Rather than that, buy this one because this one's going to go up. It's going to soar. Like, you're going to make money. And then, and then you decide, you're like, well, forget him. It's my money. I'm going to put it in that stock over there. And then it plummets. And then you be like, Julian, man, I lost all my money. And I'm like, well, where did you put your money? Well, in that stock. I'm like, if I'm like, Tyrone, why did you put your money there?
Right.
I told you to put your money in the other one. You can't blame me
for
losing the money. You can't say, well, it's Julian's fault I lost the money because he told me I was going to, lose the money if I put my money there. No. You can't blame me. Because I told you where to put your money, but I said, you know what? It's your money. Do whatever you want with it.
Right.
And you did.
I would also say that's probably arguing the best case scenario for those that believe in God, if anything. Because in that scenario, that pretty much posits that if I were to believe in my thing or in anything alternative, and then if I were to have bad luck, if I would have believed in God, then possibly things wouldn't have went bad. But bad things do still happen for those that believe in God.
Yes.
But from that perspective, they just see it as, okay, he only gives us a challenge that we're able to overcome ourselves. So for me, I posit that even from my alternative,
you would think you were reading the Bible. That actually is what it says.
That's just knowledge, yeah. I've talked to people over and over again.
Yeah,
but again, you can still take that knowledge from whatever perspective, whatever lens you're looking through life. So I don't know, you could believe in the holy fairies of mahogany or something like that, and they could tell you that, we only give you challenges that you can overcome or so. All you gotta do is believe in yourself, and eventually things will get better. And in all honesty,
it sounds like a martial arts movie or something.
That's all the time.
You must overcome this challenge to be strong.
But you know what I'm saying? But that just again, it's not it's not attacking your perspective.
I know. I know what
I
you're
would
saying.
see that as rationalization, if anything, because bad things happen to everybody.
I know.
So
Absolutely.
bad things happen to somebody who, let's say, believes in the Quran, which I don't even know what that is. So I'm just using it as an example. Bad things happen to those guys, but bad things happen to people that believe in Jesus as well.
Yeah.
So people in general go through like highs and lows. So for me, I just believe that as long as somebody hangs in there and learns from the mistakes and attempts to grow as a human being, then you can get over just about anything, because the strength that we need to overcome these things are within us. But I'm super curious why people do tend to turn to like a higher power that they see as even greater than themselves versus trying to summon the strength from within.
Because the truth is, so when you read the Bible, the thing about the Bible is, you can't save yourself in a way.
Why?
Okay.
Why though?
Okay, so I'll put it to you like this.
Wait, but that's speaking spiritually, right?
Yeah. Well, spiritually, yes.
Okay,
yes,
so before death, let's say before someone dies, before you go to heaven or hell, let's say, is someone strong enough to overcome their own situations? Would you say that people have that power within themselves?
To a point, yes.
Okay.
Your human ability will get you to a point, but there's a threshold it won't take you over.
Is there an ability to expand that point? That's a question. Because people grow from when they're young to when they get older.
There's an ability to expand it past what you know. Mm-hmm. However, there's a cap. Even when you expand it, you can only expand it so much. And if you want more than that, then you'd have to get that. It has to be a divine intervention, because there's only so much God will let us do. Mm-hmm. Because if we really could do everything that God could do, why do we need God?
Right.
You know what I mean? So it wouldn't be logical to need God if we can do everything God can do for us.
That's why I think a lot of people can, though.
There's no point. I mean, for the most part, there are things you can do on your own. I mean, of course, there are people who have, made who are self-millionaires. They made money on their own. Of course,
right.
Like, there's no, I mean, I always believe that, even in some way, shape, or form or facet, there's a little bit of divine intervention, because if he didn't give you the knowledge, the know-how, the intelligence, then you wouldn't be able to do it, because if it was easy, everybody would be doing it. But of course, it's not that easy. So you have maybe one thing special or a couple of things special that the other guy might not have that allowed you to do that thing. But that's my personal belief. But again,
right.
But again, you did it. You know what I mean?
I got you.
Now, but there's certain other things that, and it's not just related to money that I'm, talking about, but other things, that you believe that, it's almost like, the way I look at it is, okay, so it's like, if, say we decide to, go skydiving, and then we get up there, and, the instructor says, okay, you know what, there's a parachute, strap it on. When you get to a certain, altitude, yank it, and you decide, you know what, screw that, I don't want a parachute, I'm just going to dive out there, and when I get to a certain...
Okay.
Yeah, but you see what I'm saying? When I get to a certain, level, I'm just going to Spider-Man it, and I'm going to...
Hyperactive activity.
I'm going to stop, drop, and roll, and I'm going to be okay. You can't save yourself. Trust the parachute. You know what I mean? Here's the parachute. You can flap your arms like a bird if you want to, but it's only going to work for so far while you're up there. But the moment you start coming down and there's no flapping, you're just rolling until you...
It's such an outrageous example, though. I'm like... See, innately in my head, I'm like, I would like to believe there's never been a human being that was that idiotic to think if I hop off an airplane, I can fly like a bird. But I'm like, no, that's just an in the moment analogy.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
But
let me calm down.
In that situation, you would say, heck no, I want the parachute.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I'm going to take the parachute. But even in taking the parachute, you're trusting the parachute. Now, you don't know whether this thing works, but you have it on your back, and you're like, okay, when I get to a certain thing, I'm going to yank it, it's going to do this and that, and then I'm going to be cool, I'm going to be okay. Now, you trust in the parachute, because, you're like, oh man, this is kind of fun. I'm a little scared, but it's kind of fun, but I know I got the parachute, so I know, hopefully I don't die, right?
Yeah, right.
So... And then
things turn out well.
Exactly. When the instructor says,
your money in stocks right there. So
when the instructor says yank that thing, and you yank it, and it comes, and you're like, woo, yeah, and then you pull it, and then you're good. At that point, you know that, okay, I'm going to land safely. I'm not going to just hit the ground at whatever speed and become like a blimp. You know what I mean?
But you don't know until you hop out. Though. That's the question. Like, none of us knows until that time is up, and then we're like, all right, this is the time to pull that chute.
And you don't want to pull and be like, oh, blank.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So,
because then you start panicking.
But that's the curious thing. Everybody has their own version of the chutes. And again, even the people who believe there's nothing afterwards, it's just like, when you hop out the airplane, you hop out the airplane, and that's just about it. Like, so, it's just curious how many different perspectives the world has.
And I know. And like I tell people, like, this is the way I looked at it. Because I thought about it long and hard before I decided to go down this path, and I was like, listen, I don't know what's out there. I don't know what's after life.
Right. Who does?
Nobody does. But I said it's like car insurance. When I started driving, of course I had to have insurance to register my car. But then there are times when the payment, you're like, well, I don't want to pay this insurance money. I'm a good driver, and then one time I did it, I was like, I'm not going to pay my insurance. And, what I found out was, even though I was a good driver, if I was driving and the cop was behind me, my heart was almost flying out of my chest, because I'm like, if I get pulled over without insurance, like in this state, it's a requirement. Like my driver's license could get taken from me, and I mean, you could tell the cop all day long, hey, I'm a good driver, man, I don't need insurance. He'll be like,
oh, that's a dumb move.
Yeah, okay, but, here's this ticket, get out the car, call somebody that can drive you home because I'm impounding your vehicle, But I'm like, you know what? I didn't like it. I drove in fear everywhere I went for that month or so. And then I was like, I would call my insurance. Okay, all right, cool. You know what? You got me here. Look, here's the money. I'll pay you every month. And I would drive around, and if the cop was behind me, I wouldn't care, because If it pulled me over and I was doing nothing or something, I had everything I needed. I had my license, I had my insurance, I had my proof of. And to me, that's what this is. It's my safety blanket.
Exactly.
Like, you know what?
Exactly.
I'd rather have it and not need it
Yeah.
than need it and not have it. Because when a cop pulls you over without insurance, you can't say, "Oh, I don't have insurance, but hold on, let me call State Farm." Yeah, can you go make court? I need insurance right now. It's not the way it works.
Doesn't work like that.
The cop would say, "Okay, yeah, hang up the phone and get out your car."
Yeah, exactly. Put
you
your
know.
head on the hoof.
But
On the hood of the car. Hands behind your back.
and hopefully you don't end up on a viral video.
Exactly, right? Made by the government.
Getting pummeled, right? Oh my goodness!
And if you do, at least get paid out for it.
Yeah. But that's the way I look at it, and that's why I go down this road. Like, I don't know what's behind it. And if it makes me a better person in the process of it, and not being phony about it, but actually living my life my lifestyle according to this way, then it's a win-win situation for everybody.
It doesn't hurt anybody.
You know what I mean? It doesn't hurt anybody. It's a win-win situation. So
even just for that peace of mind.
Because I can admit to you that before I went down this path, I was not a nice person. I was not a nice guy.
Right.
Like, it was like, screw you, and I didn't care about you. I cared about me. And that's the general consensus of the world, is like, it's all about me, you don't exist. If it's me or you, it's always going to be me.
At least in America.
You know what I mean?
We're like raised
exactly. Yeah. But like, even with that, like, as I remember as a child just thinking of how many different ways I could just blow up the world and everybody
just
and
blow it out, not even taking over. You're like,
just,
all right,
I didn't even want to take it over. I just wanted to eliminate it. Like, we're done here.
Right. See, again, that's what's terrifying. Like, a lot of people have those thoughts, though.
It's like,
yeah,
but then, when I found the path, when I became a believer, a disciple of Christ, I realized that those thoughts were not nice, because the people who, who enjoy the world, the people who love each other. Not that I wasn't loved or anything. I just had my own things that I wanted, and I didn't have it. So I was like, okay, if I can't have, my happiness, or what I thought was my version of happiness, and you have yours, like, I'm gonna take yours too. Like, if we're all in the same,
yeah.
And that was it. But I mean, I was probably like, 9, 10. But again, that young, having this kind of thoughts.
Yeah, that's normal. That's
normal. What I mean? Like.
But a lot of people don't even grow out of that, though.
And
a lot of people grow into the form of thinking that it's a dog-eat-dog world.
Yeah, and it's really not, man.
It doesn't have to be.
And what this brings us to is this. Right now, with the pandemic, do not be one of those people hoarding water, toilet paper. I still don't get the toilet paper thing, but anyway.
Got lots of women in the house.
If it's just you and somebody else in the house, or just you, I promise you don't need like 10 to 12 stacks of toilet paper that has.
You don't need to line your walls with it. That's the question. Not question, but that's the point.
Stop hoarding things. There are a lot of people out there that need this stuff, and you have way more than you need.
Don't be one of the assholes that buy a shitload and then try to sell it for like a surcharge online. And that's so ridiculous.
Please don't do that. Don't capitalize on this, because it makes you a horrible person.
Yeah.
And that's my opinion. If you don't like it, I'm just letting you know. And I think even Tyrone would agree with me that probably makes you a horrible person.
Doesn't probably, it does. You're just an asshole. What are you doing? It's just like, okay, like, would you want someone to do that to you? Like, if they went to the store to buy their tons of toilet paper, and the store was like, all right, buddy, I know it's an emergency, but I'm gonna have to charge you like $100 for each of them like things of toilet paper. They'd be like, what the fuck is going on? Yeah, don't do that to other people.
Exactly.
Like, the most basic thing we all learn as a kid. Do unto others what you want others to do unto you. The most basic thing.
And that's the lifestyle that Jesus wants us to live. It revolves around that a lot. That care for others. Put others first before you put yourself first. Put others first always. And then you will be taken care of.
Yeah, it makes sense. Again, that's why I don't knock it, really. Like, what I mean? Again, as long as it makes people happy in the end.
Yeah.
As long as you're not infringing on the happiness of somebody else, then, yeah, go for it, man.
Yeah. People act like it's a dog-eat-dog world, but it's really not. Care for other people, like especially right now, the elderly, just, just look out for them because no one is like everyone's like, oh, get out the way, I gotta get in there, I gotta get this. Like, no, still take time to help the old lady cross the street. You know, if she's carrying a lot of bags, you know, take time to stop and help.
If it's the store that has that first hour for like older people or so, give them that first hour.
That space. Give them that space.
Be fine. They're not gonna empty the shelves in the first hour.
No, they're not, because you know they usually typically just take what they need, and you know what they need usually lasts them more than it lasts me or you, because most older people don't eat that much, you know what I mean? Like, and they eat only specific things anyway, so
might last the rest of their lifetime.
Yeah, but, so I mean, this is not the time to be a butthole, you know. Yeah. I mean, this is the time to try to put a little bit of faith back in people. I mean, I put my faith in God, but I mean, don't put your faith in people. I mean, try to make people believe that human beings are decent again. You know what I mean?
That's why, in a way, like, I know the pandemic is bad and it is like killing people here and there. Definitely more, and again, it affects people. It affects people. As long as it kills like one person, that's still a family that's affected by it, and a life that's gone, and people going through like pain and sorrow and stuff like that. So it's a horrible thing. But at the same time, I'm trying to look at it in whatever ways I can, so trying to look at the positive as well. Like, I'm trying to see it as being like a pandemic that teaches people compassion, if anything. Yeah. Because again, like for us, we're on the younger side. We have like pretty healthy immune system. So if anything, it teaches us that it's not about us personally. It's about other people. It's about our loved ones or so, our mothers or our grandmothers or so, or even if it's not us, like if I get it, I'm fine. If my girlfriend gets it, she's fine. But the people that she works with older people, so it's like, all right, if I'm a selfish person, I'm only thinking about me, and I don't care about it, but I'm thinking about me, thinking about her, and thinking about the people that she works with, because it would be devastating if she works at a veterans home and all of the veterans got wiped out, like 20 or 30 of them, just because I was careless.
Exactly.
Again, like, so a pandemic that teaches people compassion. So at least that's how I'm trying to look at it.
And sometimes we get these things, these things happen, and you sometimes see the true color of humanity, because the Bible, will tell you what humanity looks like, because I laugh at religious people that always say, well, God knows my heart. Like when you call them out doing something that's contrary to what the Bible asks us to do, and then they go, well, they make an excuse, and then they say, well, God knows my heart. I said, well, I know it too.
Their heart is what made them just do that.
Exactly, because the Bible says the heart of man is desperately wicked. And I said, you just proved that. So when you say God knows your heart, he said, I'm like, yeah, he said it's wicked unless you get a new heart.
Yeah, but, makes sense.
You know what I mean?
Makes sense to me.
So, and when I told the lady that, her jaw dropped to the floor, and I could tell she was cussing me, in her mind. But again, because I gave her the truth, like, she walked away, but like I said, I could just hear the obscenity, just floating out there.
Like, how dare you challenge me on this? I used this for everyone in the past, and no one's ever said anything back.
I'm like, but it's not about that.
It's a simple thing.
It really is.
If she got tripped up by a simple comment like that, it wasn't a pretty strong defense on her part. That's all I'm saying.
And I'm like, don't do that. That's religious. I don't play religion. It's a lifestyle for me. You know what I mean?
So there's a lot of darkness out there, but if anything, I would say, like, man has both, if anything, like the light and the dark.
Of course.
Definitely we have darkness in our core, but we also have the light, which is why we need other people to survive. That's why, again, solitary confinement is like such a horrible thing. And babies that are raised without having the touch of the parent and stuff.
But again, this whole thing, look at what they're doing. And the new thing now is social distance.
Right, but this is a temporary, necessary
thing. I understand it's temporary, but still, it's like, but...
If anything, that would be saying that nature is forcing people away, possibly. Unless you believe that it was, like, manufactured inside of a lab somewhere. But we don't got to get into that, since...
We're not going to get into that, but...
Not too deeply, at least. You can skim it if you want.
Listen, here's the thing, man.
But, last one.
All right, you know what? I'll save this for later. But
Okay.
all I gotta say is question everything, man.
Yeah.
Don't believe everything you hear. Question everything.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I just said to you, the Bible says the heart of man is desperately wicked,
Mm.
and
I would disagree though, but that's fine. That's fine.
That should sum it up.
Mm-hmm.
Now, see, you would disagree because of who you are. I know who you are. You know what I
Having faith
mean?
in humanity.
Or
wait, no, what you got?
Well, no. Okay, so see, you're somebody who believes that. Again, you may not believe in Jesus per se. You may not really, I mean, you'll take elements from here and there, which
Mm-hmm.
I get. And you're still figuring stuff out. Trying to. I understand that.
Right.
But for the most part, like, you're the kind of person that you will stop to help somebody if they're in need.
Right.
You will do that. Thing that seems human to do,
Mm-hmm.
which is really not human to do because most people just say, "Oh, screw them." I'm not in that position, so I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing you have to understand is that there are people out there, and again, once you get to and I'm not saying all rich people, but majority of people who love money and see money as their god.
Mm-hmm. There are people like
those
that.
people they do not care who they have to kill or who they have to remove or what they have to destroy just to get more of that and to feel that power that money, a lot of it can bring.
Right.
There are men like that out there.
For sure.
So
of all classes, like
of course.
even people of like lesser social standing.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
I may not have
Absolutely.
anything, but I would kill anyone to have everything. Like even those people.
And sadly speaking,
but personally, I would say those are probably again the minority of people. Like if I would ask, let's say,
but
the
what
warehouse,
if those minority were actually the ones running the country or the world?
They could be, but again, it's still the number of people. Like if you take 100 people that I work with at work or so, and I say, okay, would you kill this random person to have, let's say, $1 million, or would you kill the guy next to you to have $1 million? I would think the majority of them would say no. There would be some that would say yes, but I would still say less than 50%. I would hope less than 50% of them would say yes.
You better hope.
I mean, I know for sure, but I'm trying to give like a little bit leeway for the
know.
argument or so. So less than 50% of them would say, yeah, I'll kill that guy. But more of them would say, no, that's not the moral thing to do. Like I've been working with that guy for a while. That's my brother or so. So that would show that there's at least more than 50% people on the light side that would say, no, that's an immoral thing to do, so I'm not going to do that. But there are some people that would. There may be that one or two people that are like, I don't care, I'll kill everybody in this place. Just give me $1.
But the question here, though, is it's good to say that and sound good like you're a moral person, but it's a totally different thing when it's happening. Because even the moral guy can start to think like, hey, I mean,
anybody when pressed into desperation.
And then you start to, he's single, listen, I got a wife and kids, but does that make you better?
Right. It's definitely situational.
You know what I mean? And then you start to weigh it out and be like, hey, listen, you might first of all try to talk it out like, look, self-sacrifice.
Yeah.
I got a wife and kid. You don't have anything. Like, well, that doesn't make you better than me. I want to experience that too. Right. I want to live long enough to have a wife and kid. Well, I have them now. You don't have them, so you don't know what it's like.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like
people to live for.
Exactly.
I know what you mean.
So it's like,
yeah, but that's when pressed into that corner.
Correct.
Though. So still, like, if it was a gauge of like how evil a person is versus how good a person is, or so.
Yeah.
I would still say the majority of the people more so tend to focus on the good, and they have to be pushed pretty far to get to that point of desperation. Like, all right, I'm gonna stab an old woman just to get to that toilet paper.
Yeah.
So, like right now, lots of people are buying this stuff out, but you don't hear. We haven't heard of any riots yet in America.
No,
at least not yet.
I mean, some people got punched in the face over
right. But nobody's been like breaking into the stores at night or raiding trucks or something like that.
And I don't think that you're going to see that because the guys who are, the government they've already thought that out. That's why they're not going to close the grocery stores permanently. Of course, they might impose a curfew where even the grocery store is only open till like a certain amount of time at night. Most places are going to have security, like the grocery stores. They'll probably have security patrolling the premises, and in some places they are going to. In some places they already have. The military is already out And again, we talked about that earlier before we started recording. The military, they are a different breed. Once they come out, guys, please, if you have not been taking this thing seriously, once you see the military out, they're not your regular cops. They're not the guys that, you can talk to, you can call them names, and they're just like, oh, protect and serve. They're not here to protect and serve you. They're here to carry out orders.
Yeah, these aren't like the military guards over in England where they have to stand and not say anything. No, they'll tell you to get the hell off the premises.
These are guys that have specific orders, and their orders come before your life. And I'm going to put it just like that. Like,
they're still human beings, though.
They're still human beings.
Still humans and have morals.
But for the most part, that order has to be carried out by any means necessary. And I'm telling you this, guys. So please, heed the warning. I'm not. You might say, "Oh, you're you feel like a conspiracy theorist," but now you're telling us to listen to the government. Like, I never said don't listen to the government.
Right.
I may have
people
my
in the
own.
Comments,
yeah, exactly.
Julian, you're full of shit.
I know. You jump ship.
Exactly.
You traitor.
How crazy?
Exactly.
I was on board.
I have, of course, my beliefs about the government.
Yeah.
Even the Bible doesn't tell us to defy government. The Bible actually tells us to obey authority because they're the ones in power, and we're supposed to respect them because it's a token of the way of life that God wants us to live through Jesus Christ. Like, that's why I don't defy authority, and I don't preach that to anybody.
But what if the authority is super rich in control of everything?
I mean, you still have to, as long as they're in position of power and that's their position, you still have to obey them. You can't say, well, because I believe in God, I'm not listening to you. I'm going to go out and do whatever I want to do. I'm going to go, surfing at the beach even though it's closed.
Yeah, no, keep spreading this shit all over.
Exactly.
Yeah, you see the numbers jump up, man. Like,
in that situation, if you do that and you get shot, I mean, you
still
it was your own stupidity.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Darwin.
Exactly. So, the Bible doesn't even preach that. So I'm not saying don't listen to the government. Do what the government says. But again, don't believe everything. Ask a lot of questions.
Right.
Don't. Question everything, make meaning out, make sense out of it on your own. But don't be defiant, don't be rebellious. I mean, will there come a time to be rebellious? Maybe there will, maybe there won't. I mean, the Bible says there's a time for war, there's a time for peace, but according to the disciples of Jesus Christ, we fight a different kind of warfare every day anyway. It's more spiritual than physical, so it's not about going out punching guys in the face and stuff like that. It's more about, praying for certain things, things that you can't physically do on your own.
And like I was saying earlier, just show a little bit of compassion, if anything.
Yeah.
So that's what this is about. Don't think about you. I mean, you can think about you, but at the same time, think about other people. You don't know if you're getting affected, and if you are going to be contagious and pick it up, you can give it to somebody else who it does get to their parent. And if the parent does die, then would you take responsibility for that? Probably not. You'd probably be like, they called it from somebody else. Their granddad was exaggerating. He was about to die anyway. Probably just focus on that positive. That's what I would try to end it on.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, man, just I mean, I'm believe with this. The two greatest commandments that Jesus gave us. The first one is, a lot of people find that hard to do anyway. Love God with all your heart, with all your might, with all your soul, with all your strength. And the second one is pretty much like the first. It's just love your neighbor as you love yourself. Excuse me. If you live by those two principles, things should pretty much even itself out.
Or even just the second one. But no.
I knew you. I was expecting something like that. But even if you do the second one, innately you're still kind of doing the first. So it goes hand in hand. That's why I said the second is like the first. So they kind of go hand in hand. So
okay, I got you.
Yeah, but if you can't do the first one completely, at least master the second one.
Yes.
And it'll help you be able to master the first one eventually.
If you choose to do so. But all right.
That's the beauty of a conversation,
Exactly.
It's like, I'm not going to beat you over the head with it. It's not about getting the last word, but
I know.
That's what it says. And
go for it. Listen to his. Do it. If that's what you want to go down. Get it.
But I try to live by those two principles as much
Right.
as I can, and sometimes I have to remind. I'm actually sometimes better off with the first than the second because sometimes humanity, man, they just push you to that edge and you want to.
And you just want to push that button and be
you
like,
just,
all
you
right.
just have to swallow it and go. Okay, I gotta love you now. I gotta love you like I love myself. I wouldn't punch myself in the face, so I'm not gonna do it to you.
That's why whenever I get to that moment, I just try to keep in mind and be like, okay, from my perspective, everyone's just trying to be happy, but some people are just trying to be happy in a very warped kind of way that they're not really thinking about the happiness of others.
Yeah.
So everybody in the end just wants to be happy, no matter what religion, creed, age you are. Even if somebody's like an internet troll or so like that, trying to drag somebody else down, they're trying to be happy themselves by dragging somebody else down so somebody else doesn't shine as brightly. So they're trying to be happy, but in a very warped and twisted kind of way. So, I don't know.
That's the best way to put it now. I don't call it happiness. I have a different word for it, but we're not going to go into
Yeah.
that.
But yeah, I get
But yeah, I mean, and I'm gonna. I know we keep saying we're gonna end with this, but it's like that was like 5 minutes ago. But
yeah, I'm letting you fall off.
no, laugh. It's okay to still laugh, people.
Yeah.
There's so much right now going on. Like it's okay to laugh. It's really okay to laugh. Like at home with my wife. A lot of people say, "Oh, we hear you guys laughing all the time." Laughter is medicine for the soul, man.
Right.
You gotta laugh. This time, there hasn't been any more time to laugh than this time because I heard today that even stress will weaken your immune system. Who knows?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
I don't know, but just be in good spirits. It's not the end of the world yet. So read Revelations if you're into reading the Bible. Read Revelations. It'll give you a lot of insight to what's going on. Now, the end of the world is going to be similar, but this is just a test run. But again, we won't get into that.
Next time, possibly.
Maybe next time. So that's it from me.
All right.
You got anything else?
Nope, that's it. We can be short.
All right.
All right. Peace.